Right, so we have experienced our first bit of RTD2 Who in the form of Destination Skaro.
Yes, Children in Need has given us this little 5 minute morsel, this taste of what's to come. And my goodness, I had a good time with that.
We are so back. We are eating good.
Oh, we are. I mean, beforehand, we had speculation with this new character who turned out to be Castavillian. We had a picture of him and picture of Tennant in the reveal of this little special. And people were saying, is this going to be Nida recast somehow? Is this going to be a young Davros? I mean, he wasn't, but we did get Davros and Nida in a little voice cameo in this. So
Mmm.
we were eating well there. Yeah, it's just, back to ancient Skaro. I love like that opening shot as the TARDIS is flying towards the
Skaro's
planet.
red again.
Yeah. And the explosions that you could see of like the war waging on the ground. Ooh, that was good. I think especially when you go from like the start of Tales of the TARDIS with that awkward CG TARDIS to this, it's like it's quite a sharp difference. No offense
Yeah,
to Tales of the TARDIS, but
yeah.
it's
I
like
mean, I
it's
think,
night and day.
yeah, I think the cinematography's looking sharp. I mean, the Jodie era looked the best it did, but I think this is continuing that momentum, I would say.
Hmm. I don't, yeah, it's like the camera quality certainly went up, but I feel like direction felt a bit stilted in the Whitaker era. So I don't, yeah, it's sort of like too early to say at the moment because this was only a 5 minute little scene,
I
but
mean,
nothing really stood out as bad direction wise to me.
I
Like I think
love
it
the
all worked very
direction of the
well.
Dalek, though, how that was all
Mm,
sort of shot in darkness and
that's
how it
true.
is so wonderfully classic villain.
It's very Vader like chamber-esque, isn't it?
Yeah,
With the smoke and
very
stuff,
Rogue
even the
One.
set design and smoke and everything. Like they definitely took some inspiration from that. I feel. But I mean, again, with the Khalid scientists, both them and the Imperial officers take notes from Nazi uniforms and such. So it feels like a logical extension, really, with the Dalek and the Vader analogy in a way.
Mm.
And I mean, speaking of Davros, Julian Bleach, what a performance he gave here. It's only.
Unexpected.
Mm,
I didn't expect to see Julian Bleach in
mm.
it really.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, it's half, it's a serious scene. Like, it is canon, if you believe in it. Obviously, there's some, it's
Contradictions.
even teased in the story. Russell knows what he's doing. Like, you have that line of, we are rupturing the timelines of canon and stuff. So,
Yeah.
he's teasing us, but I mean, even just within Skaro itself, like, what the history you have painted in the original 1963 Dalek story versus Genesis of the Daleks doesn't quite line up. So, what's one more little fun poke at that beehive here, really? And it doesn't necessarily contradict anything in the TV show. Like, it certainly contradicts some expanded media stuff with Davros not having an accident until much older. But, within the TV show itself, it's never explicitly stated. You just sort of are led to assume that it was quite a while before Genesis of Daleks.
Mm. And then you obviously have the name check of Dalek in this, and that's great. Obviously, I don't think we get the word Dalek used until part three in Genesis when the cards latch onto it.
Hmm. Well, presumably that's when, Davros just decided to reveal it, but just kept it in his back pocket that whole time.
Yeah, or
Castavilla might have suggested it to him, but Davros was like, no, for a good while until he finally came around.
I mean, but having I think Khalid is a reference to I think a past Doctor or EDA book. I think over
The
Father
Affinity
Time. Yeah,
Doctors.
Infinity Doctors. Yeah, which is
Hmm.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. I suppose it's Castavilla like the elite science calls PR guy. Is he the
Maybe,
one who's going
yeah.
to be pitching this to the Carlid general public?
Yeah, he's got like an apprentice task and he's got to pitch this, and Davros is the Lord Sugar character.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's sort of, I mean, going back to what we were saying about canon stuff, it's sort of a spoof at the same time in like
Yeah.
tonally. Like you have that Murray Gold comedy music in the middle for a rather wonderful little bit. It's wonderful how Julian Bleach within that is both able to be very serious, very Davros scary as well,
Hmm.
but also it can be funny. Like the I like it at the end. It's just, I mean, the whole premise of this is how the Dalek got its
It's the origin.
plunger. Yeah, the genesis of the Dalek's plunger. It's a hilarious premise, but also it is somewhat being played seriously as well, which in some ways makes it even more funny. But it's perfect for children need, I think. A good
It's
little bit
light,
of fun there.
but there's enough there to dig your teeth into.
Hmm. And I mean, Tennant's performance.
He's never been away.
No,
Yeah.
like
So good.
even though we've had a whole nearly 13 months now to get used to David Tennant coming back as the 14th Doctor, him stepping out those TARDIS doors,
I mean, it was
it just brought me right back to that first feeling of excitement when the reveal happened. It's like I was reliving that pure ecstasy all over again.
it was a little motif of Doctor Forever, which got me. I
Oh.
was like, oh yeah, this is lovely.
Hmm. I think, just the energy he has on that set as well. He is just so the Doctor. And we are so lucky to have him back in this role for these 3 anniversary specials.
And just seeing like the Doctor Who Unleashed thing, I don't want to say that Tennant was sort of suppressing the inner geek when he was the Doctor the first time around, but I feel like he's really embracing sort of the heritage of it all, really.
I mean, I think that's Doctor Who in general at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Like, when it came back, it was at a time when Doctor Who had this reputation of wobbly sets and such, rather unfairly. And so it was trying to be almost more serious in order to combat that and, get the general public back on side. Here, I think, we've progressed to a time where sci-fi doesn't have to take itself too seriously anymore. And so we are getting to have a bit more fun with that. We are getting to have more references. And, the general public has accepted Doctor Who into the public consciousness. And so we are able to get like these Genesis of the Dalek bits. Like we would never have had a classic Dalek appear back in RTD1. But here we have it front and center stage for the start of RTD2. Along with, the Khalid scientist uniforms and such. It's a dream come true in many ways. And it all just feels so right for Doctor Who now. Now, I mean, just really excited for where we go next from here.
I mean, it's only a few days now. It's only a few more days until we're Star Beast.
Yeah, cannot wait to see where this story goes. I mean, one other little thing going on at the moment, discussion-wise, is Davros himself, with Julian Bleach now playing the character properly, without the wheelchair and the disfigured makeup/mask. That's been noted in Doctor Who Unleashed as a conscious decision on Russell James' part to move the character away from those negative stereotypes of disabled people, which have very much been in there in film and TV right from the start of, the more villainous archetype. And so it's nice that we are taking those steps away from that, but fans have some questions in that regard to Davros's future if he is to come back anytime soon under RTD2. How are you feeling about all that at the moment?
I think it's Doctor Who being brought up to current affairs, isn't it? And that's what Doctor Who's always strived for. And I think that it shows that Davros was an evil person um, before the accident, and before the life support chariot. You know,
Yeah, that's it, really, isn't it? And I don't. I think it's very much seems like representation, positive representation as well, is at the forefront of this upcoming era.
yeah,
For
you've got
disabled, trans, gay, people of color as well. It all seems to be on consciously on Russell's mind. I think for the Chibnall era, it was there done as a conscious decision, but not necessarily how that would be viewed sometimes. It was done blind, really. So it was giving everyone the opportunity. But with that, you then have unfortunate casualty rates for black characters because they were being given those one off roles that ended up getting killed after sometimes just one scene, which, never a conscious decision on Chibnall's part. There was no malicious intent there. But, when it comes to representation, it's important for it to not only be seen, be there, also be done positively and have that care taken with it at this time.
And I think that's important, really, for everyone to be seen and every voice to be heard, because Doctor Who's for everyone.
And I think, with children needs even more so. If you'd had Davros in the chair, having the villain be this negative archetype wouldn't go down too well or be the right thing when a lot of the children who are having money raised for by this event, a certain section of them are probably wheelchair users, do have disfigurements. And so, probably not the most sensitive time to be trundling out that old villain trope.
And I think you can get away around it. Davros clones a body and it transfers his mind into it.
I mean, I've seen some people throwing around the idea of the regeneration energy from
Yeah,
Series
true.
9.
Yeah.
But then that sort of has its own negative implications because there is a whole thing of disabled people, this idea that they need to be fixed, that they need to be able to, if it's, a wheelchair user, the idea that they're broken because they can't walk, that's complete bullshit, really. And so you could be playing into that by allowing Davros to walk again through that because, they're not broken. That's not what this is about at all. And so maybe you do come into problems there. Maybe the best way to do it would just be the time with the rupturing of canon in this story. Davros just never end up having his injury due to the Doctor's interference. Like, he was too busy in awe of the plunger that when that bombardment hit, he wasn't in that location.
And it could be the toy maker. The toy maker can be pulling all the strings across timelines,
I mean, it could also be that we're not going to see Davros for a long time again anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Russell says he wants to rest the Daleks, so,
I mean, I think we know that's not necessarily going to be the case straight up. I think we've got at least a Dalek story at the end of the new Series 1. Maybe they'll get a rest after that, we'll see.
I mean, I'd like it to be 70s Daleks, because they've still got it. They still look amazing.
But with Davros himself, the last time he appeared was 2015. The time before that was 2008. Like, going off those jumps in time, it's probably going to be about 2030 the next time we see him. So who knows where we'll be at by then. But yeah, certainly for now, I think that was the right decision, and I certainly stand by Russell with that decision.
I mean, I get that it's a bit of a shock, but I think there's a strong core moral message behind it, and it makes total sense for that vision to come to fruition, really.
And I think it allows Julian Bleach a performance that he wasn't able to give before as Davros. You get to see, a different side to that. And while sometime, I mean, Michael Wisher in particular did very well, just the stillness of Davros at times. And I think that spoke volumes. But now we're getting to see a different style of performance with that villain. And also, it does sort of sum up the Daleks, genetic and racial impurity, really, doesn't it? That would then extend to eugenics as well. So it's, in some ways, it's more terrifying to have a villain who is, this white, able-bodied man as someone who's created this ultimate killing machine to, perpetuate that supremacy, really, which can be terrifying in its own right. And I think certainly if Julian Bleach were to be given a more dramatic script rather than a bit of a comedy sketch, then that could be utterly terrifying in its own right there. So, yeah, certainly there are some interesting options for the future if this change is carried forward, if for the next time we see Davros, if there is a next time we see Davros. I mean, one last thing I would say about the Destination Skaro scene would be the way Davros is revealed sort of felt a bit odd to me.
Okay.
Like, not necessarily... I think the entrance is fine, but it's, when the name is said, you're sort of like, it's in the middle of a sentence, and so you're sort of still taking it in that, wait, that's Davros? While the scene's still going on, like, the Davros name drop doesn't necessarily have a punch to it. It's just like, oh, this is Davros. Oh, we're getting on with the scene.
I think it's because it's the time frame and how much they have in the slot they've got to cover.
But I think the line is like, yes, Davros, it's an honor to work with you, sir. Like, even just switching that, being like, yes, sir, it's an honor to work with you, Davros. Sort of add the Chibnall dramatic beat there. Just something to give it a bit more of a moment, to leave your jaw dropped for just a little bit and then carry on with the scene. Because you're allowed that for the Dalek review, you're allowed that for Tennant. That's just my one minor quibble in an otherwise really fun 5 minutes. I mean, I've watched it 4 or 5 times now. It's just so easy to put on and have a good time with, have a bit of a laugh as well, and just satiate the appetite for the Star Beast, which can't come soon enough.
No. It's all gonna be exciting 3 weeks now.
Yeah, we're really into it. 60th anniversary season is officially upon us, and we're loving every second.
But we are.
So let us know what you thought of Destination Skaro down below in the comments, and leave a like as well if you've enjoyed our little, maybe not so little chat about this 5-minute scene for Children in Need. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.